Okay, so today we're going to talk about William Gasser. So I'm sure you can see on the screen. He's that old guy right there. He's dead. And so he started his life in Ohio in 1925. He was originally a chemical engineer, and then he switched to psychology, and then he switched to psychiatry. Never stepped foot in the classroom, but thinks that he has the right to say what we should do in one. Okay, so he had a lot of lists, and some of them were problematic, some of them were not. So it basically starts off that all students have 5 needs that need to be met in order for them to learn, in order for a classroom not to be like utter disarray. So the first one is survival, and hopefully your kids are like being met with this need. They're not like fighting for their life in the middle of the classroom. Yeah, Liz, I saw your little gut. Yeah, school shootings are real. So hopefully they're not like, hopefully we don't have to go through that. They also need a sense of belonging. They need to feel like they have a place in the classroom, however small that may be, where their role is to do X, Y, and Z. Need freedom. They need the ability to like, freedom's always hard. They need the ability to feel like they have some say in what happens and that they have choices to make. They need to have fun in the classroom. No kid wants to be bored. No kid wants to sit and listen to you lecture for 50 minutes for 5 days a week for however many weeks are in a school year where you're going to teach. They need to be entertained to some extent. And lastly, they need like some element of power. They need to feel like they are making active choices in their learning environment. Told you guys about the lists. So this is how to properly discipline. So first of all, he really emphasized that discipline should never be the first choice. Discipline is always a reaction to your own failings as a teacher to keep the students entertained. So we need to stress to students their responsibility in making good choices. We need to make sure that the students know that like good choices lead to good outcomes. And this is where like I didn't entirely agree with his teachings because he thought that like good choices always lead to good outcomes and that the students like know completely themselves whether or not they are making good or bad choices at all times. So I just thought was a little controversial. You need to establish class rules that lead to success. You're not going to walk into a classroom to teach something and just jump right into it. You're going to set some boundaries. You're going to like say, hey, if you have a question, raise your hand. Hey, if you need to sharpen your pencil, just go on up ahead. Rules really lead to students feeling like they know what's going to happen. I'm sorry, can you guys hear like my cat in the background? Okay, good. He then also like says that we need to accept no excuses. And that's, I'm pretty sure Dr. Kathy gave us the entire list of like all of the excuses that students use to get out of homework. Like my dog ate it, my dad was in the hospital. Maybe not the dad was in the hospital one, but students are going to automatically make excuses for why they're not on task, why they are like not doing the best they can, why they're not making good choices. And we as teachers need to like take that all in, but then just push them forward, say, oh, that sucks. What could you be doing right now instead? He then talks about how we need to call for value judgments. He was really insistent that students are active in their learning process, and that they know like what they're doing is wrong. Like you ask any student like who's misbehaving, why they're misbehaving, and they're going to say, oh, I didn't feel like working. Value judgments are when you can walk up to a student and say like, hey, should you really be doing that? We need to suggest suitable alternatives. If a student doesn't want to do their work because it's boring, that's kind of on us. Like, why did we assign boring homework? We need to engage them in the learning environment and like make sure that they have alternative tasks that isn't just do this, because kids are going to get bored of that and they're not going to want to do it. We need to invoke reasonable consequences. That one kind of speaks for itself. You never want to like suspend a kid for getting up and sharpening his pencil in the middle of class. Just make sure that the punishment fits the crime. You need to be persistent. And I took this one to mean that we need to continue to uphold the standards to which we discipline. We need to be consistent by student and by time that it happens. Just to make sure that a student knows that he does this. His punishment is going to be this no matter what. And then we need to continually review the discipline system. And he talked about this in the context of asking our students of what they feel is fair as a punishment. And I kind of like that, just because students are supposed to be like active learners in the process, and you can't just discipline them on your own terms. Like, you need to ask them what they think is fair for doing something. I'm doing on time. Oh, okay. Okay. So we're moving on into how to be a quality teacher. He separated teachers into two categories, quality and ineffective, which is, I don't know, I thought that was weird. And he said that you can't do any of the things before. You can't discipline in any way until you are a quality teacher, because being a quality teacher means that the students trust you and they're going to be receptive of your discipline, and just understand that it's not coming from a place of hate. So we need to provide a warm, supportive classroom climate. Students need to know that like when they come in, they're not immediately going to be yelled at for doing something. They need us to like stand at the door and say hi to them as they walk in. They need a little bit of leniency. He asked us to make students do work that is useful. No busy work, no things that you're just gonna like glance at and then throw away. All student work should be useful. And all student work should be stuff that they themselves are going to enjoy and not necessarily like have fun with, but stuff that is going to make an impact on them. He says that we need to always ask students to do the best they can, whatever that means, student to student. Like Sally may be doing like A+ work. She should be doing A+ work, but you know, Timmy is like a C student, and maybe a C is the best he can do, maybe it's not, but we always have to ask them to go forward, to do the best that they can in that specific like goal that they have. You need to ask students to evaluate work they have done and improve it. Classwork shouldn't just be static. We need to encourage students to always be developing it, always be improving on stuff they haven't done, because feedback never stops. It should be continual, and we just need to like push students, make sure that they know what they did was wrong, make sure they know how to improve what they're working on. You need to help students see that quality work makes them feel good. They need to like that they did the work. And that can happen like in any context, just like making sure that they like the work that they're doing, making sure that like they see that there's an outcome to writing a 5-paragraph essay. Okay, and then lastly, we need to help students see that quality work is never destructive to oneself, others, or the environment. I thought that this was a weird one. I mean, it's kind of common sense, I would think. But yeah, quality work doesn't hurt yourself. Quality work doesn't hurt others or the environment, I guess. Just kind of self-explanatory. Okay, we've got 3 minutes left. That is, oh, Tess is here. So we got about 3 minutes left in this. Does anyone have any questions, comments, concerns? How do we feel about like his claim that we need to be like a quality teacher before we discipline?
I think his wording is super weird.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Lex, you go ahead.
Oh, no, you're fine. I was just gonna kind of echo that. Like, I don't like that he's a quality teacher, but like, because I agree, you do have to have some sort of like repertoire with the students, either respect, like they know who you are, you know who they are. You can't just like jump into it. But does that make you a quality teacher? I don't really know.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Like, are these like the qualities that make a quality teacher? Who knows? Mike Glasser wasn't the end all be all for all of this. Maybe a quality teacher doesn't actually exist. Who knows? Anyone else want to jump in?
So he never spent a day in a classroom?
No. No,
He
he was a
study educational psychology? Like,
studied psychology. Most of his like research was conducted like at the academic level, and he would like go out into the field in the classroom like intermittently and just like watch kids. A lot of times it was elementary schools.
interesting.
Yeah, he had a really pessimistic view of the classroom, which I also think that a lot of us are going in with right now. Students are apathetic, students don't want to work, students hate all of the work that teachers are giving, students hate teachers. And I think a lot of us are going in with that mindset right now. And I think we should change that, at least just a little bit. If there's no one else, I think that's time. So, stop recording.